we know from various pieces of research that children are able to do things when they're born. So just a couple of days old, like recognise their own language in comparison with a different language. They're actually also able to recognise, they can recognise their mother's voice. They can also recognise passages from books if their mother has read the same passage from a book. There's some really interesting research using Dr Seuss books because they have very specific rhythm and things.
Oh, right.
And children are actually able to do that even when they're born. So then one of the most important things is simply interacting with your child. So as I was saying, before they're even starting to say their first words, they are communicating with you. And what you'll find a lot of parents do naturally is what's called these serve and return interactions. So you'll say something to the child might just stare blankly back at you or go, ah, or something.
Yeah.
And then you respond to that as if they've said something meaningful. And you're really teaching them how to have a conversation. And language is all about communicating at the end of the day. So you're teaching them how to communicate with you, even from that early age. Then in terms of supporting their actual language, as it were, one thing that's been shown to be really beneficial is talking about the context that the child is in. So what's called contingent talk. So you're talking about what the child is interested in. So if the child's playing with a ball, talk about the ball. Don't try and talk about what you'd like to be playing with. That might be far more interesting for you as a parent. And one thing that is particularly good in terms of contingent talk is book reading. And that's because you and your child are sitting together and you're looking at the same book together. You can tell what your child's interested in because they're pointing at it, even before they're able to verbalise anything. And again, if you're thinking about book reading, it's a great way to bring in what they've recently done or what might happen in the future, because you can talk about the story that's happening in the book, and then you can say, do you remember when we saw, I don't know, if you're reading a book about animals or whatever, you can say, do you remember when we went to the zoo and we saw the monkey and he climbed on the car, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then you can also ask the child about what they think might happen next in the story, so you can talk about the past and the future. And so it really is about contextualising things, I think, for the young children, especially when they're very young and can't really think that much about past and future, I guess. Sort of just leaving children to play completely on their own. There's definitely a benefit to allowing them to explore the world on their own. Don't get me wrong, you don't need to be with your child and talking at them all the time. But if you're not interacting with your child, if you give them... So one thing I was looking at is, for example, ebooks. And ebooks are great with children, just like normal books are, as long as they're reading them with their parent. But if you just give them the ebook and just say, like, here you go, and just use it as like a babysitter, the child's not really learning all that much from it. They might be playing the games and pressing the buttons and stuff, but you really need that interaction to get the most out of the book. So a child needs to interact. It's not necessarily with another adult, with their siblings and things as well, but if you just leave them on their own in front of the telly or on a computer screen for a long period of time, it's not going to help their language. The more familiar they are with books, even if they can't read a single letter, the more accessible they'll find those books, and the faster their literacy skills will develop.